Good morning. It is a beautiful day here in North Carolina, and today I'm going to talk about the settings I use for wildlife photography. So come along and enjoy this adventure. Now, one setting that I do is I set my camera to aperture priority. And in aperture priority, what happens is the camera, I adjust the aperture and the camera adjusts the shutter speed. Now, the reason why I'm such a strong advocate for aperture priority is that in different situations, you want the field of focus to be different. So if you're photographing birds in bushes or something like that, you want a very shallow field of focus. And in those situations, I open up my aperture all the way and I get a very shallow field of focus. I just want the bird in focus. I don't want all the branches around it in focus or anything like that. The second thing that I do too is that if I'm photographing birds that are flying, for example, geese or other birds like that, who have very large wingspans, I want to have a very wide field of focus. So I will open up my aperture or close my aperture to f10 or f11, and that way they have a much deeper field of focus. If I'm doing landscapes, I want even a deeper field of focus. So if I'm photographing a huge vista and I want this huge area in focus here, I will want to open up my aperture to maybe 22 or something like that. Having your camera in aperture priority allows you that flexibility to do that, but still have the camera helping you take those pictures. So now that I got my camera in aperture priority, the question that comes to a lot of people is, how do you adjust the shutter speed? And the way I adjust the shutter speed is I take control of my ISO. Now what I could do is just leave my ISO in automatic, set the camera to whatever settings I want. So if I want to have a shutter speed of 2,000 of a second with the aperture opened all the way up to, in this case, 5.6, then let the camera adjust the ISO. The problem with that is the camera tends to put a little bit of buffer in there. So if you're shooting, let's say, at an ISO of 1000, the camera may shoot at an ISO of 1500 or 2000 just to make sure that it gets the picture properly exposed, and then it tries to adjust the picture with the software in the camera. I don't want that to happen. I want to shoot at the lowest ISO but still get the shutter speed I want. So the golden rule is when you're photographing wildlife is you shoot a minimum of twice your focal length. So if you're shooting at a 400 millimeter lens, you should be shooting at 1/800th of a second. Now the way I do it is I will, when I get to somewhere where like I'm here, I will look through the camera, take a reading, and then I will adjust the ISO to get the shutter speed that I want. And in different situations, I may want a faster slower shutter speed. For example, if I'm photographing warblers, I want a shutter speed of at least 1/1200 to 1/1500 because these birds are moving a lot, they move very fast. If I'm photographing a bird that flies relatively slow, a bald eagle, a Canada goose, I could probably get away with a shutter speed of 1000, something like that, and still capture that bird in movement without any problems. But if I'm photographing something like a falcon or a teal or some other very fast moving bird, I may be wanting to shoot at a shutter speed of 3000 or 4000 of a second. Now, if I'm in a situation where I need to adjust things very fast, I have knobs set on my camera so that I can adjust very, very fast. So let's say I'm photographing Canada geese and they're flying by pretty leisurely, and all of a sudden I realize there's a bunch of teal that are coming in. I can just really quickly ratchet up my ISO, maybe another 1000, so I can get a real quick lock on these birds and take the pictures. And that's one thing that's really important about taking control of your ISO, and one of the reasons why I believe in manually controlling a lot of the aspects of your camera. I see some photographers out there who will set their camera to a fixed aperture and a fixed shutter speed and then go out and take pictures and let the camera adjust the ISO. That generally doesn't work because all pictures aren't the same. Well, this little video is just to help you understand that you can take control of your photography. I think one of the things that a lot of people get frustrated with me when they ask me, what settings do you use to take pictures of these birds or whatever you do? And I keep on saying it's not as simple as I just have one setting. I think one of the things that I think a lot of people are underserved or misserved in the wildlife community is that somebody will say, okay, put your camera in a manual, set your ISO to this, set your aperture to this, set your shutter speed to this, and then put your ISO to automatic. And the reason why I don't like that is that your ISO is not incrementally set up. It's not set up to have that kind of micro adjustments that you would have when you take full control of the camera. If you just do that, you can get some really crazy ISOs and not have really good pictures. The other problem I have with that is that in certain situations when you're taking pictures of, example, the geese, or you're taking pictures of land animals, you don't need a really fast shutter speed. So when you increase the ISO, you get a lot more grain in your picture, and grain can be a real detriment to your photography, and fixing grain can be a lot of problems in a lot of software. So I really am encouraging you to take control of your camera. If you take the pictures nice in the camera, it really helps you when you're editing the pictures later in the photography. So I'm hoping you got something out of this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel. Become a Patreon supporter. Your support allows us to keep doing this. My name is Leahy, and thank you for watching.